because our theater is running so behind, you would think this review would have maybe Nebraska.
Yep.
Perhaps, possibly The Book Thief. Maybe even About Time.
Oh, yes.
Nowhere to be found.
We have no access to any of these movies right now. None.
I don't know exactly. I would assume Nebraska's limited. I don't know exactly where it is. Limited usually means like New York and LA. But I don't know if it went farther than that or not. I have no idea. So, for now, this will probably be one of our least popular videos. Unless you got a lot of fans of The Best Man. I don't know any of those people personally, but...
It's the internet. It's possible.
Yeah. But we're going to start with... I guess of these, The Best Man Holiday is our main attraction.
Ow.
Well, you know, next week will be huge, so...
Big time huge. We'll talk about that at the end of the video, actually.
So, I'll go ahead and mention... I don't know how many of you are aware of the fact that there was a movie called The Best Man that came out in 1999 that was about a group of friends that got together for a wedding. The groom-to-be was Morris Chestnut, who was this aspiring football player, kind of like he was in Boys in the Hood. His character in the sequel is basically if his character hadn't been killed in Boys in the Hood, what he would have grown up to be. And his best friend Taye Diggs, who wrote a book, a very incriminating book, where it was basically their lives, only as fictional characters. Only they weren't fictional. Only their names were. And, and the other two friends are Terrence Howard and, I don't know how you say his name. He was Mercutio in Lerman's Romeo and Juliet, and I think he's on Sons of Anarchy now.
Is it like Harold Perrineau or...
Perrineau would be my guess.
Yeah.
Well...
I think that's correct. Perrineau or something like that.
What's it?
We'll call him Harold. Make it easier.
And you have... Taye Diggs had slept with the girl that Morris Chestnut is marrying. He has a girlfriend at home, and he's meeting up with his long-lost love, who is Nia Long. So obviously complications ensue.
Of course.
And of course, at the end of the first one, Harold Perrineau's character's name is Julian. We'll call him that.
Okay, we'll go with that.
I don't want to keep saying his name if I'm saying it wrong, which I don't know. He breaks up with his demanding girlfriend and ends up with Regina Hall, who was a stripper at Morris Chestnut's bachelor party. And by the way, if you didn't know all of this, pretty much all of it is recapped in the opening credits.
Yep.
So we actually see the ending scenes with, like, the scene with Julian's old girlfriend and Terrence Howard waking up in bed is actually in the trailer for this movie, even though it's the very last scene of the first movie. Well, in this one, I think we're going in real time. I think it's supposed to be 14 years later. And it's Christmas, and Mia, who is Morris Chestnut's wife, is inviting them to come down. But Taye Diggs doesn't want to go because, you know, the friction is still awkward, I guess. But then he gets basically fired by his publisher, who is John Michael Higgins.
Yeah, it is.
But then he gets this job offer to do a biography on Morris Chestnut's character. So he basically decides to go down there more for work than the reunion, which no problems will happen here. Then they get down there, and of course we learn that the last thing Morris Chestnut wants to do is have a biography written about him. Go figure.
Yeah.
So he basically does the keeping things from people plot. It's worth noting that I actually think this movie is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, really helps, like if anybody just going in, it would probably, that don't even, I guarantee people will go see this movie not knowing it's a sequel to another movie. It's at least a few people. And they will, they'll be watching that opening going, wow, this is like a weird way to develop character. It's all happening so fast. Well, I think people who have not seen the first one can still get enjoyment out of this if they're fairly easy to please, I guess. It'll just be like, these Best Man movies are kind of like if Tyler Perry movies were good. They remind me of the Why Did I Get Married movies. Yeah. Only, like, better.
And not easily broken, too. Something like that.
That might be your subconscious because Morris Chestnut's in it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a much more enjoyable experience when you already have a familiarity with these characters.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would have liked it as much if I hadn't already known the characters from another movie. It would have come off very cheesy and basic and by the numbers, more or less. But then there's a lot of great comedy, and like the first one was really well written, and this one's really well written, which is very interesting because I need to bring this up. This is not this director's first movie this year. No. This is Malcolm D. Lee, who is Spike Lee's cousin, I think. Spike Lee was a producer on the original movie. Malcolm D. Lee did Scary Movie 5. But the thing is he did both movies. The first one's really well written, this one's really well written, like I said. He also did Undercover Brother, which is a really great spoof.
Really?
So I think there was probably just something off with Scary Movie 5. Like, he was probably, like, dragged in or something. So I wouldn't hold that against him, because, clearly he made this, around the same time, so, like I said, Scary Movie 5 was probably just, something off.
He did Soul Man.
Oh god, I forgot that movie existed. And Roll Bounce.
Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins.
Oh. Well, when he does movies like this, he's really good at it. Yeah. So, like I said, there's like, I'll talk about one thing and then I'll go into another. We'll talk about how really funny it is. Yeah. Obviously, my personal favorite character in both movies is probably Quinn.
Yep.
Who is Terrence Howard. By the way, it's worth noting that his name is Quinn, and his character makes a Django reference.
Yeah.
And he has that really funny line about the I can't remember what it was now. You asked me if I remembered it last night. It was he basically makes a reference to the fact that Nia Long's character is now with a white guy, and they basically like to mess with him. Tay Diggs' comment in the trailer about I like to date chocolate girls. It's always funny when
skiing in Vermont.
It's always funny when black guys do the white guy voice.
Especially Tay Diggs for some reason.
Eddie Griffin and Undercover Brother when he's Anton Jackson.
He does that in his stand-up. That's the reason why it was so seamless for him to go into that in Undercover Brother.
And it's just like, this feel-good holiday movie about old friends getting together.
Yeah.
Sure, there's that little secret about him writing the biography behind Morris Chestnut's back. Sure, that's probably going to be a problem later. The interesting thing about I don't know how much of this I want to say. I don't know how much of it would be considered a spoiler, because this isn't even remotely hinted at
anywhere.
Like, there's no foreshadowing to it. There's nothing about it in the trailers.
You want something weird about that, though?
It just happens.
I actually called it midway through the movie. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I figured something weird was going on. I don't know why. It's just something in my head that said something's going to happen.
In the event that there are people anticipating this movie and are Best Man fans that are actually seeing this video before they see this movie, I don't know what the odds of that are, but I'll be vague and say that one of the characters is really sick. To a
Satine degree. That's the thing in my mind.
It's not tuberculosis, though. It's cancer.
Yeah.
And this movie just does a total 180 and goes into some really... I mean, the first movie had a lot of heavy drama in it. Like, when Morris Chestnut literally almost kills Tay Diggs. Like, he's literally holding him over a ledge.
There's a clip of it in the movie too, like a flashback.
Like in the first one, when Morris Chestnut tells Tay Diggs, "I'm gonna kill you," he like means it. They actually have to. Julian actually has to talk him out of it, so he doesn't go to jail.
Yeah.
He's like, "You do realize you're about, to marry the love of your life. I don't think you want to, go to prison for murder." Well, obviously, there's still, comedy.
Oh, yeah.
To keep it, steady, but the drama in the first one is not near as heavy as the drama this one goes into. Like, it's almost a complete 180. Like, there was this, spoiler alert for this movie, there's a movie that came out way early this year called Stray Days that had Ryan Phillippe in it. I can't remember who the woman was in it. It was him and Luke Wilson. But anyway, Ryan Phillippe is that, like, long-lost uncle. And he comes back into their lives. And then Anna Paquin, that's it. And he's basically the cool uncle, and he's trying, to make good with the family and all that.
Yeah.
Then in, like, the last 15 minutes of the movie, from out of nowhere, we find out he has a brain tumor and he dies. Just really quickly in, like, the last 20 minutes or so.
You can finish the script in 5 minutes, and done. There you go.
But no, this movie handles it a lot better than Straight A's does. Because it happens halfway through the movie when we find out. And then it's able to... The rest of the movie is the characters dealing with that. Which I suppose was an interesting turn to take, because you do wonder how long a feel-good movie about friends getting back together can go on for so long. That would be that. It's not exactly the feel-good movie it originally set itself up for, but it's still got that. It's still got a really optimistic, because, there's another, this movie basically has two endings. Mm-hmm. There's the, it's kind of like Wayne's World. You have the really, really, really sad, depressing, fucked ending, and then you have a backup ending that sends you off on a good note.
Of course.
So there's that. There's still that positivity there. So yeah. So yeah, I would recommend it, but I just, like I said, it is really funny.
Yeah.
And it is a feel good movie. Mm-hmm. Just, there's some really, really heavy drama in there. Not to say too much, but Morris Chestnut has a particular scene that is, like, terrifyingly realistic.
Yeah.
In how he reacts to something. And a lot of it's, like, really hard to watch. Especially since I literally just last week was at a funeral for a family member that died of cancer. It was very weird timing. So yeah, I would recommend seeing the first one before you see this one, because it'll give you that familiarity with the characters and make you enjoy it more. But I suppose if you go in, blind, I'd say you'd probably still be fine, but you won't like it as much as you would if you had seen the first one.
I've never seen the first one, and again, just like a lot of viewers, I did not know the existence of the first one until you told me about it.
I had before I actually saw the movie, I had known it. Like, when I would walk around video stores, I'd always see it there.
Oh, well, okay. If you go with that direction, yeah, I did work at a video store a long time ago, so yeah. I do remember somewhat running into it every once in a while, but I never picked it up.
Plus, it's not to be confused with another movie called The Best Man from the 60s. That's a political movie.
But I went in this with pretty much, like, open eyes and did not really know what to expect, and you kind of gave me a brief synopsis of the original story, and I was thinking to myself, it's like, interesting.
Which you all saw in the recap anyway.
Exactly. So, this movie's hilarious. Terrence Howard is just really, really funny in the whole thing. I mean, even when it gets to the point that all the doom and gloom happens, he still is the comic relief, and he can still throw out one-liners even when people are
which makes it even more
around.
which makes it even more upsetting when you get to see his character break down too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I really like this movie. My boy John Michael Higgins in it for like 2 seconds.
And you predicted what his role would be.
Yeah, I did. It's very strange too. I was wrong who his boss he was. I thought he was going to be Neil Long's boss, but I should have realized he was going to be Day Dig's boss. But yeah,
they make it a point many times. Neil Long is her own boss.
Exactly. The workaholic that's in nearly every movie in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So I will say one thing too. The Shelby character, the one that's like the Real Housewives of Westchester. That's what it was. I did not like this character in the trailer. I thought she was just unlikable in the trailer. It's what I thought. But
when you see the original movie, she's always been unlikable. That's why Julian broke up with her.
She's interesting. As the movie progressed, I developed a little bit more of a like of her character, which is really strange.
She's got a daughter that's kind of like a heart to the movie a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And she has a couple good scenes as well towards the very end.
The Terrence Howard scene.
Yes, absolutely.
But there is the one funny scene where she's arguing with Terrence Howard and she's just sitting there innocently making a gingerbread house, and Terrence Howard just looks at her and goes, "I hate your mom."
She yells at her to stop eating the pieces of the gingerbread house before it's made. So, yeah, I mean, I recommend this movie too. I wasn't sure what to get into when I saw this. I saw the trailer. I actually liked it based on the trailer. So I was wondering what it was going to be like when I actually saw the movie.
There is a good line that's in the trailer that's not in the movie that I was kind of disappointed I didn't see. It's when they're... obviously, Quentin's always been that player character.
Obviously.
And there's that shot in the trailer that's not in the movie where he's on the couch and he's talking about how he's basically horny.
Yeah.
And he says, "It's Christmas time. I'm willing to give and I'm willing to receive."
I learned some new terminology I've never heard of before. I learned the word headmaster this time, which is very random the way that comes out, their conversation they have when they're playing pool. That's it. That's somewhat in the trailer, but not quite. When they're bringing up Eddie Cibrian's character coming in and they make fun of him, they use the white man voice Tay Diggs does in the trailer. It goes further than that, and they're actually having the scene in the pool when they're playing pool, and they're talking about things like, well, who says I didn't get with her? And it's like, oh, he's just screwing with you, it's okay. And that's just some funny dialogue because it's very realistic to the point that you can imagine these guys just sitting around playing pool having these conversations, and then when you go to see what the girls are talking about, completely two different things.
You're almost surprised the actors actually didn't write it like
yeah, exactly,
like Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke in the Before movies.
Exactly.
All right.
So yeah, Best Man Holiday. If you have a chance to go see it, then go watch it. There's better comedies this year. It's coming out on DVD on Tuesday. So
yeah.
But yeah, if you get a chance to go see it, go take your opportunity because there's worse stuff out right now, and it's.
I know everybody's saving their money for the Hunger Games and everything.
Yeah. And it'll be at your bargain basement, like $2 theater if you have one close by to you in a couple weeks anyway. So give it a shot. Honestly, there's worse you can spend money on.
Speaking of that,
something hopefully doesn't get many theatrical releases.
It's apparently not gone very far. I don't know any theaters it's in. But I saw the fucking thing anyway.
For you guys, you wonderful viewers that want to see AJ skewer a movie, just like we did with Sharknado, we're about ready to go into the Starving Games.
All right, let me make a statement about this before I say anything. These guys are so bad at making movies that criticizing them and breaking their movies down has pretty much been done to death now.
Yeah.
Let's go down this lineup. They started with Date Movie, which I actually found to be a bit of a guilty pleasure.
I like Date Movie for personal reasons, obviously.
I felt it was closer to, obviously they're striving to be, to my understanding, obviously their claim to fame was that they were, I think the term was 2 of the 6 writers of Scary Movie.
Yep.
It's to my understanding that the Wayans brothers cut almost everything they wrote.
Good.
I could be wrong, but I think that's what I heard. So there's that. Secondly, all right. So I think Date Movie had funny parts.
It did.
I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but there were funny parts of Date Movie.
It's the only one of the movies that I like.
One of my personal favorites was the spoof of Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
But then that was pretty much all they had.
They blew it in one movie.
Well, good. Well, it's not even Date Movie isn't even that great mostly, but the best stuff that they could probably possibly come up with was sprinkled throughout the Date Movie.
Yeah.
Because they followed that up with Epic Movie, which is, one time a while back, I made a list of the worst movies ever made. I just put all their movies in one because there's not really one that's any worse than. I mean, you could argue they're getting worse as they go. I can't really tell anymore. But they did Epic Movie, which had nothing to do with Epic Movies. Then they did Was Meet the Spartans next.
Yep.
Then Disaster Movie.
Which was one of my least favorite movies of all time.
Then Disaster Movie, and then was Vampire Suck next?
Vampire Suck was next.
Alright, and that was the last one before this one, wasn't it?
Yes. And then when they have two on the pike, like, that are working right now.
Well, at least they dropped a movie from their titles. But that doesn't really do much to save anything. Alright, by now, unfortunately, you know their style.
Yes.
They take pop culture characters with absolutely no context with anything around them and just put them in there because they're pop culture references. Mm-hmm. And making the pop culture reference is the extent of the joke.
Yep.
And this goes on for an hour, and then you have a half hour of credits with random shit thrown in them. All the shit that already would have been out of place. Everything in the movie is out of place.
Yeah, definitely.
But this is stuff that was so out of place, they actually realized it. So they just stick it in the credits because, God forbid, you don't see their other pop culture references. They want you to know they saw, shit. I think it was, I think it's Epic Movie that has the, like the moment with Superman, and then the moment with they combine Spider-Man and The Apprentice. Whatever.
Don't even remember this.
Well, anyway, I just spit. I think I hope that didn't show up on camera.
We'll see.
That's me spitting in their general direction.
That's right.
So, judging by the time, I'm sure you've never heard of this until now. I can imagine you can already guess what the Starving Games is directed at. That's right. Fuck it. I'm just going. We're just gonna do this from beginning to end. Like I said, this movie's only a goddamn hour. I'll just go scene by scene, more or less.
I will give it up to them for one thing. They're timely. This movie comes out the week before the movie it's parodying.
Apparently they shot this forever ago, because I remember this has been on their page since, like, The Hunger Games was announced. Because mostly, okay, I'll give them credit here. This is one thing that they have improved. All of the movies that they reference in here have been released.
Yeah.
That's a start.
That's a good thing.
They didn't actually base their references on fucking trailers. See Hancock in Disaster Movie.
Yep.
Disaster Movie's trailer, which featured Hancock, came out before Hancock did. Which proved they were strictly basing their references only on trailers.
Like canning the entire Scary Movie concept and just coming up with a Mama ripoff?
Yeah. I don't know how they didn't. Surely they ghost wrote Scary Movie 5. Because Scary Movie 5 was on the same level as them.
Yeah, most people want to put them in front of a firing squad, not in front of a film camera.
That's why Marlon Wayans went on Twitter and said, just so y'all know, we had not fuck to do with Scary Movie 5.
He's not going down with the ship.
He's got, Whether that movie is good or not, God bless him, Haunted House made a shitload of money.
It did, and that's
And
why there's going to be another one.
There's a sequel this January.
Yep.
And good God, a Haunted House looks like a masterpiece when you look at these.
Yeah, no lie.
There were a couple of scenes in a Haunted House where I laughed hard.
Yeah.
I smiled once in this movie, and I'll get to that part in a second. But we're just gonna go through here. Okay. So we start, and her name, it's this Jennifer Lawrence ripoff, and her name is Can't Miss Evershot. That's like this for a second.
You've already told me this already, so...
Okay.
Second time I've heard this week.
It's dumb as fuck,
Mm-hmm.
but Can't Miss makes a little sense.
Yeah.
A little bit of sense, because it's a play on Katniss. And she never misses with that fucking bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Okay. And her last name, Evershot. I'm gonna guess the whole thing is supposed to mean she doesn't miss a shot ever.
Can't miss every shot?
Well, here's what I was thinking. And like I said, I'm not saying this is much better. I'm just saying maybe it would have made a little more sense. There are jokes upon jokes upon jokes about how the people of District 12, that's the one they're in, right?
I believe so.
How they're dirty and they're poor. And obviously, one of the big preparation things when they go into Hunger Games is they have to give her a very thorough bath.
Yes.
Why not spoof Everdeen with Never Clean? Is that maybe a little better?
It's a little better.
Does it make at least a little more sense than Evershot?
That's the reason why, because they're not smart enough to come up with something that catchy.
I don't know.
Can't Miss was fine, but if the whole name just doesn't work.
Whatever. Whatever. Okay, so you need a pop culture reference immediately. The movie has been on for 30 seconds. I'm not exaggerating. It's maybe 30 seconds in.
Okay.
And she fires an arrow into the air. And we see Oz in the hot air balloon. Franco's Oz.
Of course.
Because that's the newest movie with Oz in it. And this is a common sin these movies commit. It's not enough that this character is dressed and looks exactly like the character, so you know who it is, and so you know who they are in pop culture. Almost every single pop culture, I guess, figure that's introduced in these movies has to be referred to by name, just to make absolutely positively sure you get it. So the only reason this Oz spoof is there is for the character to say, "I am the great and powerful Oz." But get this, while he's just nobody is around him. He's just on his hot air balloon around nobody.
Okay.
And he's just screaming, "I am the great and powerful Oz." Just to be sure you get who he is.
Alright.
But of course he gets cut off and the arrow hits him and he falls out. Because that's the thing, is not only do you have to introduce these pop culture characters, you have to either hit them in the balls or kill them. That's the extent of that humor. But of course they turn him into Will Ferrell and Austin Powers. She's talking to Dale, because his name's Gale. And while she's talking to this Gale ripoff, you can still hear Oz in the background talking about how much pain he's in. Because they couldn't just, do away with it. They have to drag it out. I don't know. So, anyway...
Could have shot the balloon and let it go up in a puff of smoke. And he's like, he'd always wanted to go out that way.
So, our next thing is, of course, we have our Elizabeth Banks ripoff. Who is she's dressed exactly like Elizabeth Banks, but the big joke, and this This is the start of another thing these movies do. Most bad comedies actually do this, but these guys are just absolutely terrible about it. They think there is a joke that they make that they think is so funny, they think is going to be such a hit that they do this joke throughout the movie over and over again. One of these jokes is the Elizabeth Banks character. I don't even know what makeup name they gave her, but she has the fruit basket on her head, and it's so heavy she keeps falling over. They thought that joke was so golden that they were going to reuse. It's reused throughout the movie. Like every other scene she's in, she falls over because of the thing on her head.
That's not funny.
So she does her Elizabeth Banks thing and pulls out the names. You remember, I never watched The Simpsons, but I know about this.
Okay.
The running joke about Bart's prank phone calls.
Of course.
When he'd say the names.
Yes.
Well, they use this joke. That's those names like Bart would use when he made those prank calls are the names that are in the bowl.
Of course.
And everybody laughs. Alright. So anyway, then of course, the big spoof of the I Volunteer as tribute scene. Obviously, the real movie plays it out as the younger sister is picked.
Yeah.
Emotions ensue. Katniss is not going to let this happen, and Katniss volunteers.
Of course.
So, what would be really funny? A funny way to spoof this? All right, let's just go the opposite route. The little sister's name is called, and Can't Miss celebrates. Like she's, and this goes on and on. It probably only lasted for about 10 seconds, but it felt like it went on for fucking ever. She starts like high-fiving the guards and doing the chest bump thing, and
oh dear God.
And this just goes on for a really long time. And then finally, when she I guess the joke is she didn't realize it was her sister's name. She was just happy it wasn't her own name. But then she volunteers after her. And of course, instead of her volunteering, the sister has to do the puppy dog eyes that make her do it, basically. Cutting edge, isn't it? All right. See, that's the problem. Okay. When a comedy is failing miserably at being funny, sometimes it's fun to watch the train wreck.
Yeah.
The problem with these movies is the train wreck is too good of a word, because when you say train wreck, it means you can't take your eyes off of it.
Yeah.
These movies are so bad, they're boring.
Ooh.
Like, the hour it takes to watch their movies is so long.
Like, I need to be doing anything else right now.
And that's their problem. These jokes that just go on and on and on, that just kills any type of timing or pacing you have going on. But, you shouldn't even try to, be logical about that with them. So, we're introduced to our next spoof character. The only actor in this movie you'll probably recognize.
Yeah.
Diedrich Bader is doing Donald Sutherland's character. Now, obviously, everybody's seen The Hunger Games. Everybody knows Donald Sutherland's name is President Snow.
Yes.
So I was thinking, before I looked at the IMDb cast list, I was like, what are they going to do with this? Is it going to be like President Rain or President Sleet? That'd be funny. Funnier than what they would come up with. I mean,
well, obviously. That's the reason it can't be the case.
There's nothing funny that could really come of this. But your best bet probably would have been, like...
another storm of some sort.
Yeah, one of the other mailman quotations.
Yes.
President Hale.
President Hale's good.
It's like I said, the funny joke about how in Scream, Courtney Cox is Gail Weathers. So every time Sherry O'Terry says her name in Scary Movie, it's like a different type of storm. The brilliant name they came up with. President Snowballs.
Diedrich Bader has fallen so far from the Drew Carey Show.
Well, he's not in their next movie. Maybe he finally gave up. So, this is that moment that got me to smile. It's a joke that's been done to fucking death, but it was still just, I guess at that particular moment, it managed to force a smile out of me. Obviously, we see that video where Donald Sutherland talks about, like, why he created the Hunger Games and how it came to be and all that shit. It's basically a history on it.
Of course.
Well, naturally, he makes the joke. So, after having watched movies called The Running Man and Battle Royale, I got this idea. And of course, the movie's posters come up. But then it's basically this running joke. He's actually, because Donald Sutherland has the big white beard, the video actually starts with him doing a Dos Equis spoof. For no reason, of course. And then they introduce him, and they fucking love this joke, apparently, because every single synopsis you track down of this movie mentions it. If you win the Hunger Games, you get an old ham, a Subway coupon, and a partially eaten pickle. Maybe on a first run, that might be funny. I almost smiled at the Subway coupon. But the trouble is they want to blow that joke in all of the plot summaries. Like I said, they're so proud of this joke. This holy grail of a joke that they have a hold of right now. See?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, the coupon is for a foot-long sub at a 6-inch price. Alright, now let me mention something that's really big. This is a huge criticism. You're spoofing the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Alright, you have the Elizabeth Banks ripoff, you have the Donald Sutherland ripoff, you have, obviously, you have a PETA and a Gale ripoff. For a split second, there is a Lenny Kravitz spoof. The guy is literally there and then he's gone. Just to establish, hey, we remember that character was in this movie. They spoof Wes Bentley. He's got obviously they're going to spoof his beard. Because that's the only joke you've got. Which is, he makes product placement out of his beard. Like, sometimes it's the McDonald's arches, sometimes it's the Starbucks logo, it's the Nike symbol. And of course, he makes the joke about how he gets paid. Like when the Starbucks logo is on his face, he's drinking from a Starbucks cup and all that shit. There is no Hey Mitch character.
Really?
The easiest character to spoof in the Hunger Games. There is not a single mention of a Hey Mitch character.
What?
Spoofing Hey Mitch may have actually gotten a laugh from something. That should have been the easiest thing they had going.
Didn't they have some sort of a Mad TV reject that could have pulled off a Woody Harrelson impersonation? Come on.
No, there's no mention of a Hey Mitch character. Nothing.
So he's completely stricken from the record of history, according to this.
Woody Harrelson is untouchable.
Apparently so. He didn't clean like Batman, though.
Unless you're on Reddit, in which case Woody Harrelson is the most touchable person on Earth. But anyway,
go watch Rampart.
And then okay, so then you have to have your gross out gags. There's something involving a wound that... Okay, well, hold on. Let me go into this now. There's the character... I can't remember his name in the actual movie. It was the villain character. Not Don Sutherland, but the kid that was in the games. Anyway, he is spooked with this guy, and they make this play on... Oh, by the way, the PETA ripoff's name is Peter. He pretends to be gay for him, for a reason I don't remember. Because, gay jokes are awesome to these people. They're apparently so in with the times. So, but then of course, they have that subplot where the Wes Bentley ripoff character is trying to manipulate the game so that there can be a love story. So that's how that happens. And they are camping out in this cave, and the joke is that I think they made a Cinemax joke. And it turned out, even though it was censored with Diedrich Bader's face, because this movie is PG-13, they do basically, to put it in quicker terms, the Team America sex scene, more or less, with all the, contortions and...
Yeah.
That's the extent of that joke. That scene goes on for fucking ever. Oh yeah, I was talking about the gross out gags.
That's a pretty gross out gag right there.
Yeah.
Can do.
Peter's back is injured. And they do this gross pussy thing for no reason. Obviously, now here's where we reach our height of hilarity, people. You know how Katniss can, whistle and then the birds sing?
Yeah, of course.
Well, of course, she whistles and the birds shit on her. But no, not once, mind you. She gets shit on once. Which is, how much shit that would kill a bird if it came out of it. But then, of course, there's a second one where she's just drenched in it. Because that's the way this movie plays.
That's not...
There's this joke another joke they do over and over again where the Peter character is like a complete pussy. And he's always doing this high-pitched girly scream. Because apparently that's still funny. It fucking slays me when Simon Rex does it in Scary Movie 3, but doesn't work so much here. You know why? Because Simon Rex did it once. I'm talking about the scene where he accidentally bumps into the light switch in the basement, and just that little squeal comes out.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Scary Movie 3 looks like a masterpiece right now. The Wayans Brothers didn't even have anything to do with that one either. That was when Zucker took over. There was a scene where, get this, we're not done with the balls humor yet. You know how every time somebody dies, they fire the cannon?
Yeah.
Well, get this. The first time they fire the cannon, a character gets hit in the balls with it. And you know how funny they think that is? The guy, the Toby Jones ripoff, says, let's see that on an instant replay. And we see this guy get hit in the balls 20 times, maybe? This is just a scene devoted to playing this scene over and over again about 20 times. Of this guy getting hit in the balls with a cannonball. You know these guys get paid to make these movies?
Yeah.
Okay. And yes, another pop culture reference, of course. Taylor Swift did that song that plays over the Hunger Games as
Safe
credits.
and sound.
Well, it's the I think in the real movie her name is Rue. The little girl that dies.
Yes.
By the way, we know her for 30 seconds in this movie before they do that death scene. And then she's singing a lullaby or something like that. And then this Taylor Swift knockoff actually comes out of the woods with a guitar and starts to sing. And as soon as it registers in your mind, well, of course, that's Taylor Swift. She's got the hair, she's got the guitar, it's a Hunger Games spoof. Clearly that's Taylor Swift. Let's move on now, because we all know who that is. As soon as she finishes her song, just so you're keeping up with us now, thank you, Taylor Swift. And then she leaves. Thank you for the reassurance.
Can't get shot and the cannon gets shot off or something like that?
Fuck it. Okay.
I'm trying to make sense out of it. That's not a good idea.
Okay. So, we basically reached the end. We do have a guy that spoofs Stanley Tucci, but that's not really worth mentioning because they don't do anything. They don't even try to do anything funny with it that I remember. How bad is that?
Oh, wow.
If they did try to do something funny with it, I didn't even realize it.
Ouch.
Okay, so we finally reached the ending. And we haven't had a pop culture reference for a little while, maybe 3 minutes. So, they've just been boring us with random shit. There is a slightly clever intermission. But it goes on for, like I said, this movie's only an hour long, if you don't count the credits.
Okay.
This intermission lasts for about 10 or 15 minutes and just kills time. But it's a funny idea. The Hunger Games in this has halftime. That's a funny joke in itself.
Yeah.
But it just goes on. And that's the thing. I do give this movie credit. One thing these idiots are really well known for is long, drawn-out dance sequences.
Correct. Because
they can't think of anything to do. This movie only has one dance scene in it. For them, that's a miracle. They have the Hunger Games it's the Starving Games in movie, but whatever. They have Hunger Games cheerleaders. And they do this thing for a very long time. Alright. Well, anyway, we've reached the end. And we haven't had a pop culture reference for a while, so they bring in the Expendables. You have a Willis lookalike, you have a Stallone lookalike, you have a guy who does not look anything like Schwarzenegger. And you got all of them there. You got Jet Li, you got Jason Statham. They do make kind of a funny joke about Stallone says a catchphrase, Bruce Willis says a catchphrase, Schwarzenegger says a catchphrase, and the Jason Statham guy says, wait a minute, I don't have a catchphrase. And that made me yeah, Jason Statham does not have a catchphrase.
No.
I'm sure there's something in Crank you could figure out or something. Well, Jason Statham's characters aren't very talky, so, the thing that bugged me about this, and I know I'm just being nitpicky now, but who the fuck cares? Look at what we're talking about.
Indeed.
This is clearly taken from the poster of The Expendables 2. Why? Because it's the most recent movie. Because one of the guys in The Expendables is Van Damme. Van Damme wasn't an expendable. Van Damme was the fucking villain. Why is he hanging out with them?
Someone took the poster literally.
Somebody didn't see the fucking movie either, apparently. If they had seen the movie, they would have made a joke about Jet Li not being there. Yeah, they had Chuck Norris there too. Because that's when the catchphrases started. But then they all die. They're there just so they can die, because like I said, you bring your pop culture's characters in to either kill them or hit them in the balls. The Expendables were killed. Okay, and then the movie ends. There is a joke that could have been funny if this movie had good timing, which was, obviously the end of the movie is, Peeta and Katniss, threaten to kill themselves if President Snow doesn't end the games. Because he changes the rules. Well, it basically plays out the same way in this one, except while Peeta's suggesting they eat the berries and kill themselves, Katniss kills him. Like I said, that would have been a funny, whole shit joke, but this movie was a lost cause by then. And then the movie just ends abruptly, because that's what they do. But then, before the credits start, there's a scene with the Avengers. You got this guy in a very cheap Captain America Halloween costume. And they're all there. But the Captain America one really stood out because it was everybody else kind of had something that resembled the costumes, but whatever. Anyway, and this sparked a couple of jokes that could have worked under better circumstances. For starters, finally, the only reason I commend this joke is because it basically goes against everything these guys stand for. They give a reason for why the Avengers are there. If you can believe it.
Wow.
Nick Fury says, "'Cause I show up at the end of every movie." Well, at least they finally explained why the fuck a pop culture reference popped up somewhere with no context. And they do make kind of a funny quip at Hawkeye about how Hawkeye is not going to get his own movie. And the guy doing Thor has one line, but he sounded a lot like Hemsworth, and I commend him for that. Maybe he needs work elsewhere. But then, of course, you know, you bring in your pop culture characters, they gotta die. The thing is if you step off the thing, you explode. And the Avengers are standing on these things. And then, just as they, you know, rile up the Katniss character, they go off those things and explode and die. And then the credits start. The credits are like 12 minutes long. And they have a very long out. Here's the thing, though. We have to pad the runtime.
Of course.
In any other circumstance, the outtake reel and the credits are going at the same time. No, we have a really long outtake reel, then the credits go. Because the movie is that fucking short. I think that's it.
I was reading the cast list and I was like shaking my head at some of the names. You didn't mention Ron and Hermione.
Oh yeah. Like I said, under better circumstances, that could have been kind of funny. At the start of the movie, they're walking through District 12, and Ron and Hermione come running out, and a guard comes up and says, "No, your franchise is over," and pushes them away. That's the extent of that. So, yep, I think that covers all that. So, have I sparked your interest? Are you going to go check it out as soon as possible?
No.
All right. That's cause for going to the last movie, which I'm only going to talk about a little bit because it was like a month ago that I saw it, but it's probably one of the best movies of the year. It is right now, actually. I don't know if it's going to like hold up. We still got 2 months of awards movies, so. This is a movie called Mr. Nobody, which was shot. It's been online since about 2009. It was shot a really long time ago, and it just got a theatrical release like last month.
It was like 2008, 2009, something like that.
Yeah. So, I don't know what was up with. I imagine it had distributor trouble because this movie's pretty wild. I heard a critic just described it perfectly. Like, I don't know if I would have realized this had I not read that before I saw the movie. The best way to describe the movie is the butterfly effect by way of Cloud Atlas.
That piques my interest right there.
That's a perfect way to describe it too. It's okay. This movie is really, really abstract. So what I say the story is may not be the story, but this is just the way I saw it. I don't know if there's like I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer here, or if it's one of those movies that's just, it is what you think it is.
Okay.
What I gathered was that we see Jared Leto in really, really impressive makeup. It's like the Guy Pearce makeup from Prometheus, because he's 130 years old. And it's set in the future. And everybody, they've discovered something for immortality, I guess. Because everybody's young, and everybody's immortal. And he is 130, and he's the last mortal on Earth, and he's about to die. So he's delivering his life story to this reporter. And you would not believe it if I told you while you were watching it, but it is Jared Leto under the makeup. And he does the, Dustin Hoffman in Little Big Man, the old man voice, you would buy that that's the voice of a 130-year-old person, because it's so, deep and gravelly and weak. But no, it's all Leto. But the thing is he's decided, the reporter's here so he can tell his life story to him. But the thing is while his name is Nemo Nobody, he's deciding to tell his life story the way he wants it. He's literally changing his memories as he tells the story. And we don't know what memories are really happening and which ones he made up. Because we have, it starts with, his dad is played by Reese Ifans, and I can't remember who played his mom, but, it's this segment where it kind of reminded me of Sliding Doors at first. because it's a weird movie to bring into here, but
Yeah.
they're at the train station, and his mom is on the train, and she's leaving. She's leaving him with his dad. So you have his dad at the train station, you have his mom on the train, and she's leaving, and he's running after her. And we see his memory grabbing his mom's hand and getting on the train and leaving with her and leaving his dad behind. But then we see that memory over again, and he doesn't reach his mom, and he stays at the train station with his dad and goes on with his dad. And we see his memories over and over and over again, but they go in a different direction every time.
Adjustment Bureau?
I don't remember much about the Adjustment Bureau, actually. I didn't think much of it. That's probably why. But like there is and there's one like there's another memory with Juno Temple on the beach, and they're sitting there, and he's like isolated himself. He's like a loner, and she's over here with her friends on the beach, and she sits down with him, and she says, hey, why don't you come over and hang out with my friends? And I think he says something like he doesn't like her friends, like he thinks they're a bunch of fucks, basically. And she gets pissed off and leaves. But then he relives the memory again, and he says, I can't swim. And she feels sympathy for him and sits with him and hangs out. And like she's like one of her friends runs over and tries to pull her away, and she's like, I can't go swimming, I'm on my period. And then the friends leave, and she stays with him. And then she ends up growing up into Diane Kruger, and they, sometimes they get together, sometimes they go far away. In another memory, he's married to Sarah Pauli, who, like, gets killed in an explosion or fucked up in an explosion or something. It's like they have their wedding, and then when they're on their way to their honeymoon, they're in front of, like, a gas truck that blows up, and... But he just keeps changing the direction that these memories go, and it's wild.
Sounds awesome.
So, if you're ready, like, I know a lot of people had trouble sitting down for Cloud Atlas. So, those same people will probably have trouble with this movie.
I loved Cloud Atlas. I was completely in from the beginning.
This is one of the best movies of this year, and Cloud Atlas is one of the best movies of last year. And I'm not much of a sci-fi person, so...
No, neither am I.
Cloud Atlas is a lot more sci-fi than this is, but I'd say that still falls under this category. And you don't know, like... And then it's weird, like, I don't know if I should say this or not. I might as well. If you're gonna check this out, which I really insist you do, this is kind of spoilery, but, if you're gonna see it anyway and you don't give a fuck, then you can hear this. We get to this point at the end where it's like, it comes to this conclusion, where it's like, it's this total mindfuck, where it kind of pulls us in elsewhere. We learned that nobody in the future talking to this reporter is actually young Nemo as a kid imagining what his life's going to be like in the future. And then we see his life, and then basically his life, I guess his life goes the way he was imagining it this whole time, because we see it go in reverse, and then we see it go forward really fast.
Wow.
It's fucking wild.
Sounds like it.
So, yeah, I would, like, I don't know where you're going to find it. If you're watching this, you're probably nowhere near a theater that has it, if I had to guess. But if you happen to be, like I said, if that floats your boat, it's been online since 2009. So that's pretty much that, I think.
Next week's going to be packed.
Yeah.
Next week, I'm going to throw this out here, and I told you guys a couple of days ago that we got really lucky this weekend when I found out that Athens was going to be getting 2 movies that will do something in different categories in the Oscars this year. One that's going to be a juggernaut, and one that AJ doesn't completely think is going to go as far as everyone else says it will.
It'll show up, but I don't think it'll go to the Oscars. That's all I'm saying.
So we will be finally viewing 12 Years a Slave on Tuesday. And we're going to be watching All Is Lost as well, the Robert Redford movie.
And so people don't think I sound like an idiot. I'm referring to All Is Lost when I say the movie I don't think is going to go to the Oscars.
Yeah, we're not dumb to believe that 12 Years a Slave's not going to the Oscars. Maybe not as far as people think it will, but that's my prediction anyway. So that is going to be on the video for next Friday. We're also going to be watching Catching Fire on Friday and Delivery Man on Friday as well. Don't know anything else that's coming up right now. I know that we are getting Blue is the Warmest Color next month, but I may not be here for it, so it's a question mark if we're to get to it or not. Kill Your Darlings, I know, got an announced date, but we don't have an actual date yet. I know it's coming to Athens. We don't know when. Dallas Buyers Club is on the horizon. We've got Nebraska, The Book Thief.
Hopefully for all those.
Inside Llewyn Davis. There's a lot of stuff coming out that we're not sure about how we're going to get to see them, but we know we will eventually. So
Out of the Furnace.
Yeah, Out of the Furnace it still has a big banner, but then again, about time proved that a big banner does not mean anything in my theater. So, yeah, there's always that. So, we've got a good verses this week. We continue our scary-themed verses. Our cryptic comment is Sickness. You'll get that review on Sunday. So, AJ, any parting words for this review for this week?
Track down Mr. Nobody. Do not track down the Starving Games. And watch The Best Man if you're going to go to the Best Man holiday. That's that.